A CMO is mid-sentence about a brand bet. There's a window in the market. She can feel it closing, and she's leaning forward with the energy of someone who can already see the launch. Across the table, the CFO has stopped listening to the story. His eyes have dropped to one line on the deck, the line where the numbers don't add up, and you can watch him do the math while she's still talking. By the time she finishes, she's selling to a man who's already decided. She leaves feeling like her idea got strangled before it could breathe. He leaves feeling like he was just asked to put his signature on a story with no proof underneath it, which to him is close to professional negligence. I've sat in that room more times than I can count, and the first thing to notice is that nobody in it is the problem. Two competent people, both right by their own standard, grinding against each other in a way that looks personal while the cause sits in the structure between them. This is the collision most teams carry and most coaches misread, which is exactly why we're going to take it slowly and read it all the way to the floor. What grinds in this room is going to teach you a concept that shows up under every other collision in this module. So we start here with the budget meeting, because once you can read this one cleanly, you can read the rest. Let me put the camera right on the moment the meeting goes sideways, because the wreck happens in about 4 seconds. The CMO has a story about where the market is heading. It's a read. She's watched the signals. She knows this window is real. And the whole point of her job is to move before the proof arrives. Because by the time the proof arrives, the window is gone, and so is the advantage. That's the discipline of her craft. Moving early is exactly what her job rewards. And the CFO's eyes go to the gap. They go there automatically the way yours go to a misspelled word on a sign. He's doing the one thing that makes him trustworthy, which is refusing to bless a number he can't verify. To him, the gap in the deck is the whole question. So watch what each one feels in that 4 seconds. She feels the idea strangled before it can breathe. She brought something alive and fragile into the room, and he reached for its throat. He feels asked to bless a story with no proof, and for him that's a heavy ask. It's an invitation to abandon the exact thing that earns him his seat. Two people, both protecting something real, both experiencing the other as the threat. Hold that image. Everything we read next is an attempt to explain why those 4 seconds keep happening in this team and in nearly every team that has a finance chair and a marketing chair at the same table. The first engine running underneath that collision is this one. And if you learn nothing else from this video, learn it. Finance earns trust by being right. Marketing earns trust by what moves. Those are two different currencies, and they can't be spent in the same transaction. Think about what that means for the CFO. Every dollar of his credibility was earned by being correct when others guessed, by catching the thing nobody else caught, by never once signing off on a number that fell apart later. Being right is the currency that put him in the room. Now think about the CMO. Her credibility was built on results, on campaigns that landed, on bets that paid, on her feel for a market proving out. What moves is the currency that put her in the room. So when she asks him to back the story before the numbers are in, she is asking him to spend her currency instead of his. And when he asks her to wait for proof before she commits, he's asking her to spend his. To each of them, it feels like being asked to stop being credible, to set down the exact thing that makes them good at their job. That's why this grinds at the level of identity and runs deeper than opinion. Teach this one slowly when you're in the room. Don't rush it. The trust currency mismatch is the lens that opens up every other collision in this module, and a team that truly gets it can name half their fights in a single sentence. There's a second engine, and it's quieter than the first, which is exactly why it does so much damage. Most teams never notice it's running. The two people are also disagreeing about when evidence is supposed to show up. They are reading two different clocks. Finance plans in fiscal quarters and annual cycles. The CFO's whole world is structured around the close, the forecast, the board deck that lands on a calendar everyone agreed to last year. And his clock expects the evidence before the investment. You prove it pencils out, then you spin. That sequence is the job. Marketing runs on campaign windows, days to months. The CMO's clock is tied to attention, to the moment, to a window that opens and shuts on its own schedule and doesn't care about your fiscal year. And her clock expects the evidence after the investment. You place the bet, the market answers, and the answer is the proof. You can't run the test without spending first. So picture them again. He wants proof, then money. She needs money, then proof. Same word, evidence, pointing in opposite directions in time. And the part that makes it so persistent is that usually neither one of them realizes the other is on a different clock. They each assume their own sequence is just how responsible adults operate, and they quietly file the other person as careless or as paralyzed. Name the two clocks out loud, and you've handed the room a relief it didn't know was available. Now I want to zoom out for a second and show you the instrument panel, because if you've worked through Unit 4.1, you have a way to decompose any collision into its dimensions, and this one lights up 4 of them at once. That's part of why it grinds so hard. It's 4 mismatches, stacked. Trust currency is live, and we just spent real time on it. Being right versus what moves, that one you can already name in your sleep now. Information processing is live. The CFO trusts what's been quantified and verified. The CMO trusts pattern, signal, the shape of a thing before it's fully measurable. Each of them is processing the world through a different filter for what counts as knowing something. Risk and uncertainty is live. To finance, an unproven bet is exposure to be contained. To marketing, an unproven bet is the only kind worth making, because a fully proven one means the window already closed. And natural time horizon is live. The 2 clocks we just walked through. I want you holding all 4 at once instead of one at a time. When you're in the room and you feel the heat rising, you won't always know which engine fired first. But if you've got the whole panel in your head, you can listen for which dimension is loudest in this particular argument and read from there. 4 dimensions, 1 collision. Name the live ones, and the fog starts to lift. Get specific about what's actually at stake for each person, because until you can feel what they're protecting, your read stays academic and the room can tell. Finance is protecting 3 things. Precision, the discipline of getting it exactly right. Verifiable evidence, the refusal to assert what can't be shown. And something deeper than either, the identity of being the one who sees what others miss. That CFO has built a career on catching the flaw in the deal everyone else got excited about. Being the adult in the room who saved the company from its own enthusiasm, that's who he is. Marketing is protecting a different 3. Resonance. Does this land? Does it move people? Does it connect? Room for an unproven idea. The space to bring something fragile into the room and let it grow before it's killed by a demand for proof it can't yet have. And adaptability itself, which for marketing is the whole asset. The ability to read a shifting market and move with it is what the job rests on. Take that away, and there's no job left. So sit with this sentence. When you ask the CFO to back the story before the numbers are in, you are asking him to spin the very currency that put him in the room. You're asking him to set down the thing that makes him competent and trustworthy, and to do it in front of everyone. Once you feel that, you understand why he can't just relax and go along. He'd be spending himself. So what do you actually do with this in the room? The coaching move runs in 3 beats, and the order matters, so let me walk you through each one. First beat, surface. You name the structure out loud while staying off either side. Something like, you're each asking the other to lead with your own trust currency. What would a decision framework look like that honored both the narrative and the numbers? Notice what that question does. It treats both currencies as real and puts the team to work, designing something that holds both. Second beat, challenge each side toward translation. You turn to each of them and ask, what would it cost you to lead in their language first? That's a real cost, and you want them to feel it, because that cost is exactly the trust currency we've been talking about. Naming the price is what makes the translation an act of generosity the team can choose freely. Third beat, name the clocks. What urgent means to each of you is structurally different. What happens when we make that explicit? You're pulling the temporal engine up where the team can see it, so the disagreement about timing stops masquerading as a disagreement about character. Surface, challenge each, name the clocks. 3 beats, and notice that every beat leaves the decision with the team. Every beat hands the work back to them. You're building the muscle that lets them read their own collision. They keep ownership of the read. This is the beat where you'll be most tempted to break discipline, so I want to plant a flag right here. This is the collision coaches most want to fix. You'll see the shape of a good answer, some blend of the bet and the rigor, and every instinct in you will want to hand it over and watch the room exhale. Hold off. The goal is a team that can do this work itself. Past finance winning, past marketing winning, past splitting the difference down the middle so everyone's equally unsatisfied. Watch what happens when you resolve it. You hand the team an answer. The tension drains out of the room. Everyone thanks you, and the team learns nothing it can repeat. The same collision comes back next quarter wearing the hiring plan instead of the brand bet, and they're right back where they started with no more capacity than they had before. You solved a problem and stunted a team in the same move. What you're after is something that outlasts you. A team that can argue every big bet on both the numbers and the narrative, on purpose, without you in the room. A team where the CFO has learned to ask what the story is and the CMO has learned to ask what the numbers would need to show, because they built the capacity to metabolize the collision themselves. So the discipline is simple to say and hard to hold. You read the collision so the team can hold it. You surface the structure and you keep your hands off the answer. The relief of solving it is yours to give up, so that the strength of holding it can become theirs. Your work before the next video, and I want you to actually write it down because the reps are where the stance gets built. Bring to mind a finance and marketing collision you've watched, a budget meeting, a campaign fight, a moment where the numbers person and the story person ground against each other and it felt personal. Any team you know well enough to remember the texture of the room. Now, 3 short pieces of writing. First, the 2 trust currencies in the team's own words. Use their language here, the way they'd say it. How did the finance person actually talk about what makes a decision trustworthy? How did the marketing person talk about what makes an idea worth backing? Get it in their language, because that's the language you'll have to speak in the room. Second, the 2 clocks. When did each one expect the evidence to show up? Before the spend or after? What did urgent mean to each of them? Write both side by side so you can see the gap. Third, and this is the one that matters most, one question that surfaces both currencies and both clocks without picking a side. Read it back and test it hard. Does it open the structure for the team to work, or does it quietly vote for finance or for marketing? If you can feel it leaning, rewrite it until it stands in the middle and holds both. Hold on to what you write. In the next video, we take the same anatomy to legal and tech, where the collision is a polarity. The team needs both ends of, rather than a mismatch to translate.